apologies. Welcome to our February 2025 meeting, and doesn't the time go quickly? Please be advised that this council meeting is recorded. It is live streamed and will remain available to the public online. And could I start with our acknowledgement of country and our statement of values? Councillor Dick Rose.
The Central Coast Council acknowledges and pays respects to the traditional owners of Lutruwita, Tasmania, the Palawa Pakana people. We acknowledge the Punalapana tribe of this northern country, and in doing so, we celebrate one of the world's oldest continuing cultures. Our statement of values. Guided by the diverse beliefs, experiences and backgrounds of the people we represent, we strive to make inspired and respectful decisions today that we will build a better tomorrow.
Thank you so much. As I said, all in attendance this evening and no apologies from any staff or elected members. Item 2, declarations of interest. Councillors and staff must declare any pecuniary or conflict of interest on any item on the agenda. Are there any declarations, please? Thanks.
8.2.
8.2 for Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, 8.2 as well.
Thank you so much.
We have one declaration of interest from the Director of Strategic Growth.
Thank you. For 8.2 also. And one for myself at 14.4. That takes us to item 3, confirmation of the minutes. Confirming the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the council from the 20th of January and authorise that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the council held on the 9th of December be amended to correct that typographical error. You've been provided with the details there. Would a councillor care to move that motion? Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Dick Rose. Councillor Beswick, anything to add?
No, nothing to add, Mayor.
Any discussion? No, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Takes us to 4.1, Mayor's communications. I have been to lots of important and significant things, but nothing that I need to tell you about tonight, all of which are reflected in the diary. Happy to take any questions from you in relation to the diary, which is at 4.2. Just one to add there, which is a meeting that I had today with Miriam Beswick, MP. A list there of events that other people have attended on behalf of the organisation, and my thanks for you doing so. Could I have somebody move that the Mayor's diary be received, please? Thank you, Councillor Hiscott. Seconded, Councillor Lehman. Any questions on the diary? No? All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. It takes us to item 5, which is councillor reports. 5.1, councillor communications. This is when councillors can acknowledge or report on important events and community matters that which were relevant to council. Do we have any reports, please? Councillor Hiscott.
Thank you, Mayor. Just 2 items of note. One, the Penguin Surf Life Saving Club is having their state festival event, I should say, on the weekend, the 15th and 16th of March. So please make your way along to that. And also just to give the council an update, the Penguin 150.
Sure, there's a
Oh, nice. And we are having our first event kicking off on March 23rd for the Penguin Waddle, 2:30. Bring your friends, bring your kids, bring your family. And I'll be leading a group of people along the foreshore and some free sausage for the kids and some activities and whatnot. So very excited about kicking off that, launching the event. It's going to last the whole year. So if you've got some time to get to Penguin or follow the socials, Penguin 150, make sure you get on board.
Thank you. Any other councillor reports? There being none, we'll move to 5.2, councillors' questions on notice. No questions on notice have been received. 5.3, councillor questions without notice. Councillors are invited to ask any questions without notice at this time, and all questions can be asked and answered for all departments at this time. Any questions from around the table, please?
No, Mayor.
No. You've all asked them and had them answered previously. Correct. Fabulous. 5.4 is councillor motions on notice. No motions on notice have been received from you. Item 6 is petitions and deputations. 6.1 petitions. We have not received any petitions. 6.2 deputations. No request to address this meeting have been made. Which takes us to 7, public question time. So public question time is conducted in accordance with Regulation 31 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations and the Council's own public question time policy. Public question time is limited to a maximum of 30 minutes, and we will get to that in due course. Firstly, there are some public questions taken on notice from the previous meeting. One question was taken on notice at the 20th of January 25 council meeting, and the council's written response to these questions are sent directly to the questioner following the meeting, but they are provided there for the purpose of record. So there is the questions and the answers provided to Paul Spicer at our January meeting. Public questions on notice. No questions from members of the public were submitted on notice for today's meeting, which takes us to just information about public questions without notice. Public questions without notice provide an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of the council relating to the activities of our council. And you're all provided with some guidance there on the seats about how that all works. Once again, we advise that we advise those in the public gallery that the council meeting is recorded and will be live streamed and made available to members of the public online. Just forgive me for one moment. So previously this was before this in the past, because we had that.
Yes, but not
Tonight.
not
No,
tonight.
that is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. That being the case, let's open the floor to public question time, for which we'd allocated 30 minutes. We don't need to use it all. You've got some guidance there in relation to questions that you can ask, and note that any questions relating to an item for decision on the meeting agenda are not allowed in the interest of procedural fairness. So to that point, we can't take questions on notice for things that are on the agenda for tonight. But other than that, we are happy to open the floor to you that might have questions. As always, because we are being recorded and streamed, I would ask if you're able that you stand and come close to the table. That's the microphone there in front of Councillor Hiskett. Just state your name and where you're from. If we can answer the question tonight, we will. If not, we'll take that question on notice from you. And to ensure that that flows nicely, we do constrain it to a maximum of 2 questions per person, if that's okay. Does anybody have any questions? Welcome to you all. That's what I should have said to begin with. Yeah. Welcome. Thank you for coming and taking time out of your day. We appreciate you being here. I'd open the floor to anyone that wanted to ask a question.
I'll look at the looks on their faces.
Go on, Kevin.
Yeah, I know. I got wind that you couldn't stand 2 months in a row without me being here.
How can we help you?
Questions without notice is dangers of fluoride in water. Excessive fluoride intake through drinking water can lead to several health issues. Fluoride contamination is a significant threat worldwide. Dental fluorosis and skeletal fluorosis are the most common health problems associated with high levels of fluoride in drinking water. Dental fluorosis causes changes in tooth enamel, ranging from barely noticeable white spots to staining and pitting. Skeletal fluorosis, a condition where fluoride accumulates in bones, can lead to bone deformities, calcification of tendons and ligaments, and osteosclerosis. Fluoride exposure can also have neurological impacts. Preliminary research in laboratory animals had suggested that high levels of fluoride may be toxic to brain and nerve cells, potentially leading to learning, memory and cognition deficits. Only 11 countries in the world have more than 50% of the population drinking artificially fluorinated water. Most developed countries, including Japan and 97% of Western European population, do not consume fluoridated water. Now, fluoride is the only chemical added to water for the purpose of medical treatment. Fluoridation is unethical. Informed consent is standard practice for all medication, and one of the key reasons why most of Western Europe has ruled out against fluoridation. With water fluoridation, we are allowing governments to do whole communities, forcing people to take a medicine irrespective of their consent, what individual doctors cannot do to individual patients. Put another way, does a voter have the right to require that their neighbour ingest a certain medication, even if it's against the neighbour's will?
Can I draw you to the question, Kevin?
All right, just one more thing. I'll just, under Section 20 of the Local Government Act 1993 in Tasmania, outlines the functions of the council. It states, in addition to any functions of a council in this or any act, a council has the following functions: to provide for the health, safety and welfare of the community, to represent and promote the interests of the community. In performing these functions, a council is to consult, involve and be accountable to the community. The council may do anything necessary or convenient to perform its functions, either within or outside its municipal area. Now, this leads me to my two questions. In the best interest in showing transparency to the community, what is the cost to add fluoride to the water supply, and what are the actual origins of this chemical? Question 2, in the best interest of the community, particularly under Section 20, Part 1 and Part 2 of the Local Government Act, and considering the 29 councils in Tasmania own 51% of Taswater and receive a dividend from the same, and as there is growing awareness and concern about fluoride added to the water, may thee ask that the Central Coast Council be proactive and be state leaders, as well as being the envy of other communities, to demand a stop to adding fluoride to the public water supply.
Thank you for your explanation and the context and the questions. Acting CEO, how did you want to approach that?
Thank you, Mayor. I will take your question on notice, Mr. Abood, and provide a response to you through the formal council meeting process. I would just like to note, though, that the provision of the public water supply is provided by Taswater, not council, but I'm certainly happy to take some advice from our environmental health experts, and we'll provide you with a response to your question.
Also regarding Section 20.
Yes,
Yep.
will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
I think you get off it. It's easy tonight.
Happy to take questions from anyone else. No others? We do have the remaining time. As I said, we did set aside that 30 minutes duration, and I'm sure someone was taking notice at what time the 30 minutes started. So if you find yourself with a burning question between now and then, just please don't hesitate to let me know. That takes us to item 8, Council acting as a planning authority, 8.1. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for that item? Thank you, Councillor Viney, seconded Councillor Beswick. Put the motion, all those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Brings us to 8.2, which is a development application for educational and occasional care at 3 Leven Street in Alveston. We have some declarations for that.
Should read the declarations.
To the Executive Services Officer, either now or at the end of the meeting, if you haven't already. That's fine, just let it.
Walk it out.
Thank you, councillors. You have the report and the associated documentation there with you, and the recommendation. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for this item, please?
I'll move it there.
Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Viney. Councillor Beswick, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yeah, I'll speak to the motion, Mayor. There's not a lot we can say about this application specifically. We've all struggled with the decision that's been put before us, and it meets the planning grounds. Whether it meets the pub test, so to speak, is another question. And all of us around the table have grappled with this proposal. as a councillor, you think you get elected to represent your community, but then we're put in a position as a planning authority when we aren't acting as a councillor, we're acting on behalf of the government to administer the planning scheme. Having said that, though, everybody has got an option to appeal any decision. If we decided to go against this application, the proponent could appeal it, just as any representors that have put in representations for this have got a right to be able to do the same. So with reluctance, I'll move the motion, and I look forward to hearing what some of the others have to say.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Other speakers, Councillor Viney.
Similarly to what Councillor Beswick had to say, this matter does been addressed by the planners. I do note the objections that have come through, and the objections have been dealt with within the planning report, and therefore will be voting with the suggested resolution.
Thank you. Other speakers, Councillor Naiman.
Thank you, Mayor. I am acknowledging that the Central Coast needs childcare, and understand that was how this application arrived at the table. I've read the representations and feel that their concerns are valid. The application did demonstrate several areas of non-compliance, but most of them were addressed by the planner's response. The one that I had particular concern about was the hours of operation that was stated, which significantly fall out of what is required and don't meet the performance criteria, and which is that the discretionary use does not cause unreasonable loss of amenity to adjacent sensitive uses. I feel like the sensitive uses for the neighbouring residents all of the residents have provided representations. So I feel like that has definitely not been met. Like I said, I do understand the need for childcare. I understand it is a great location with the school over the road, but unfortunately I cannot support this tonight.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Thank you, Councillor Riley.
Thank you. I too, like everybody else, is very conflicted with this development application. To me, it does raise some red flags, and it feels a little bit like it's the minimum requirement for everything. There were numbers in there that don't seem to add up to me, but the same as Councillor Lehman, I also feel that childcare is just so important for the Central Coast. We need more of it. The location, if it weren't for the neighbours being so close and their loss of amenity, would be a good location. Yeah, I'm just really struggling with this one, to be honest. On planning grounds, it has all been addressed, but there's just still so much subjectivity to, I guess, a planner is still a person that has opinions on things. So, yeah, it does stack up in this report, but there's still some things that I'm just really, with my values, that I'm uncomfortable with. But with a planning hat on, it's just a different thing altogether. So I'll just listen to the rest of the debate.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Other speakers?
I don't think anyone wants to really speak on this,
Councillor De Bryce.
on this, Mayor. It is, I would say, have to be one of the toughest ones for me. Childcare is a big issue, not only for us, but for other parts of the state as well. It is a good location. No, it's not an ideal location for those that live around it, and I'm saying, as Councillor Wiley, I'm really struggling with this. But on planning grounds and what we have in front of us, I can't come up with anything on planting grounds why I, have a need or a scope there to knock it back as much as I don't like saying it.
Thank you. Councillor Smith, did you wish to contribute?
I think most things are said. This is a difficult one. Put in a position that that's our decision we have to make. Everything's not easy. I do feel for the people around there, but I also have to consider what our planners have told us, and it's not like we haven't discussed it because we've put a lot of time into this. So yes, I think all has been said that we really could say.
Thank you. I suppose my only contribution would be that, yes, we've considered whether there were things that we might have been able to add to conditions that might have made it more amenable, and without the planning ground support for any of those conditions, we're left with little to do but to approve the recommendation. I suppose it is also an opportunity for us to reflect that this is why we brought in the pre-planning meeting with our planning staff in an effort that when something was going to be impactful, or it might have been contentious, or might have created some unrest, that perhaps an early opportunity to flag those issues or those concerns, and perhaps find some points of compromise if they exist, that allows us to do that. But by the time it is lodged and finished and the clock is ticking, then we're not in a position to even request that our staff can try and mediate any better solutions. So I suppose for me it is another demonstration of another example of encouraging people to engage with our planning staff early for a whole range of reasons. But like others, despite my struggle with it, I will need to support the motion that we have in front of us. Councillor Beswick, did you wish to close?
Probably just a couple of points, Mayor, just for the record. Our own planning staff didn't assess this because we're in planning ourselves as with our own childcare centre. It has been done independently, so that there can be no conflict there, which I commend the staff for getting that done, because sometimes people can see that there's a conflict there. If we could have come up with something on strong planning grounds, I think we would have. Might have been a different thing, but we've got to watch for our community's expense, that if we do it on fairly shaky grounds, we end up having to pay a lot of costs, including the developer's cost, if we do decide to go against something like this. Not that that's the right way necessarily all the time, but if we could have found some strong planning grounds to go against something like this, I think most of us would have been looking forward to that. So other than that, have to put the motion, Mayor.
Thank you. I put the motion. All those in favour, aye. Raise your hand, please.
Aye.
Forgetting about myself. And those against, raise your hand, please. Thank you. The motion is carried. Councillor Dupras, would you? Acting CEO, would you let the others in? That's okay. Thank you. Names and numbers accounted for.
Could I just confirm against?
Councillor Wiley, Councillor Lehman.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. That takes us to item 9, which is the Office of the CEO and Mayor, and 9.1 is the Chief Executive Officer's report. Noting that from this month, the reporting period for the CEO's schedule has changed and further updates will no longer be required. So we talked earlier, the CEO explained why the dates had changed to really remove some duplication there. Never sure how we got into that position where we weren't cutting them off the same dates as the agenda, but there we go, a good improvement. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for that item, please? Thank you, Councillor Hiskett, seconded Councillor Wiley. Councillor Hiskett, did you wish to speak to the report?
Most of the report is all good. Just to note the improvements, also the inclusion of a status report on councillors' notice of motions. I think that's quite a handy little piece of information to share at each agenda. But other than that, the rest of the report, although has plenty of information on the information we need, so it's good to receive that update on where the organisation's heading each month. Thank you.
Fabulous, thank you. Any other speakers? No, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Takes us to 9.2, the Chief Executive Officer title policy. It's a fairly self-explanatory policy that we knew that we needed to incorporate when we changed the title of the General Manager to the Chief Executive Officer. Would a councillor care to remove the move the recommended motion for this item? Thank you, Councillor Wiley, seconded Councillor Diprose. Councillor Wiley, did you wish to speak to your motion?
No, I think you said it all in the introduction, so all good, thank you.
Any other comments? Put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. 10.1 is the community events policy, also something that provides clarity for our staff in the area of community events. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for this item, please? Councillor Smith, thank you. Seconded Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Smith, anything to add?
No, I think it's a great, we've got a good area there that staff do a wonderful job, and it just keeps things updated. So I don't think there's anything that's all said in there.
Good, thank you. Any other speakers?
Mayor,
Yes.
I think this one's an important policy because we have so many community events and so many community groups out there now that and use our vast array of public buildings. So this gives some clear clarity to both the community and the staff. So I think it's a good policy. Well done. We've upgraded and we just keep looking for it. So well done.
Good, thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Bearswick.
Yeah, just to concur with Councillor Carpenter, yeah, like as you've mentioned, it just gives a guideline for people when they're looking for support, and there's no grey areas now, so it's something that we can work with and improve over time, and even as far as funding goes for support for events and so forth. So yeah, I commend the policy.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Smith, did you wish to close?
Everything's been said.
Everything's
Great
done.
policy.
Not a problem.
Thank
Put
you.
the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11 is corporate services. 11.1 is the financial report provided there for you. When you're ready, would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for this item before I get it out of my mouth? Thank you. Councillor Viney, seconded Councillor Hiskett. Councillor Viney, did you wish to speak to the financial?
I'm the officer in charge of numbers.
Thank God.
It's a very, very clear and concise report once again, and we're getting much more information to the councillors and to the public through this report than we had done a couple of years ago. That's great. I do note that the only one that we're really behind on is the grants coming through from other parties. They've been a bit slack at this stage, and hopefully they'll come in before the end of the year to bring us the budget in place.
Thank you so much. Any other speakers?
I'd like to thank our finance manager here beside me.
I think she's beside me.
The other side there.
I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.2 is the caravans and camping bylaw. And I didn't even have to look up.
No.
The mover is Councillor Hiskett. Do I have a seconder,
I'll second
please?
it.
Councillor Diprose. Thank you. Councillor Hiskett, did you wish to speak for this?
Yes, thank you. As I've spoken about previously, one of the very first meetings I went to with a member of the public when I was elected in 2018 was regarding camping. And I said, I'll do something about that as a naive young councillor. And here, 6 years later, we've achieved something. So, look, I think there's been a lot of hard work. There's been reasons that it's taken so long, and it's getting it right and missteps along the way. And I think what we've ended up here is a good result that ensures basically that we've got the ability to have some teeth if people don't do the right thing. It's about just providing guidance and support, and so everyone knows what the actual rules are. It has, within the facility for registering, so that we know how many people are and where they are. We can get good usage numbers from that as well, and know where we need to make improvements or need to do other facilities. And I don't think it needs too much saying to it. It seemed like from the representations that it had some broad support. There were some not as supportive, but mostly in general it was fairly supportive. And I think very interested in seeing how this is rolled out, how we make this sort of available to the community and our visitors. And that's the important part of this, is that a lot of people come to our region, they come to these places and they spend money in our community, which is supporting the mum and dad shops that just really get by on having those people here. So I think this is great that we have, we're an RV friendly town. This shows that, and commend the bylaw, and look very much forward to its hopeful approval tonight, where I can say I did it.
Thank you. The speakers, please.
I should say we did it. So.
Thank you, Councillor. One of my concerns, this was always going to be having the bylaws, what we were going to do, and how our homeless, displaced people were going to be affected. It's good to have this document which clearly states that if there are people who are displaced in our camping areas, they can have discussions about being able to stay longer or move to more appropriate sites at the time, depending on weather, etc. And this document also talks about compassion, and it's really relevant and great to see that word in there when we need to be talking with displaced people with such compassion and making them feel heard, and hopefully creating a relationship where they're comfortable in speaking to people and saying, we need to stay a bit longer, or is there somewhere else where we can go? So great to see that, and especially with compassion and addressed in that document. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers, please? Councillor Carpenter.
Thanks, Mayor. To concur with Councillor Diprose's comments there, and really interested in the feedback from the community. And I think sometimes you put bylaws out and you don't get sort of too much feedback. I think all the feedback that we got was constructive. There was no, people say it was negative or whatever. I didn't see any of it as negative. I saw it as constructive stuff brought forward. And I think with the way it's wrote and what our directors have done to put it in the place it is, yes, it might evolve over time for sure, and that's how things should evolve. But it'll also get council to develop that online booking service, which we desperately need, and our IT service, which make it easy for everybody. And there's that compassion status in there. We're not locked down, kick out council. And I think it's been well documented over the last 2 or 3 years that we are a compassionate council, and intend to keep that going. So totally endorse it and thank the staff for bringing that forward at this time.
Thank you. Any other speakers? I suppose I would just add my thanks and recognition again. I thought the submissions were good, and as we've learnt with patches before, some of those patches of our foreshore are very environmentally sensitive. We have a large responsibility for our coastline, and people using it well and using it properly, and disposing of their waste correctly, and having the facilities to do so. And you're right, that booking system will allow us to track who is where, what is it that they need, and how we can improve, and what demand looks like. We're currently running blind in relation to that. So no, I'm really looking forward to that unfolding and seeing what we learn as we go on. Councillor Hiskett, this was yours. Anything to close, please?
Thank you. Just to acknowledge very much what Councillor Diprose said, that it opened it fairly frivolously and about the situation of the travellers, but there's also the people who just need a place to stay. So it is good that we've managed to accommodate both that within this this bylaw, and very much looking forward to it being approved.
Excellent. I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 12 is infrastructure services. There are no open session items from that department. which takes us to 13, strategic growth. 13.1, development support determinations. You've been provided with a schedule of development application determinations and all of the data that surrounds it. Again, great to have that clearly spelled out in a public document. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for this item? Councillor Beswick, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wiley. Councillor Beswick, anything to tell us?
Everything's still bubbling along. I just noticed that development applications are up over 50% in January last year. So things are still kicking along well. You've only got to look around the new subdivision to this building going on in a lot of those. So it's great for the growth of our municipality and just shows the livability of what we have here. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers, please? Councillor Smith.
Yes, I just concur with that comment. It's just lovely to see these coming through, and that's gives us a lot of joy.
Thank you. Wandering livestock. A bit more wandering livestock this month than before. I'm not sure, maybe they're out looking for water.
That's right.
But our animal control staff certainly have a fun job, don't they? I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against?
We'd like to close on that one though, Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
After your comment about livestock, including rabbits and around here.
Did we end up with a resolution?
Good call.
No, we did. Just to confirm, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, brother, for the rabbits. Right. That was the end of 13.1. Executive Officer, do we still have some of our 30 minutes left in relation to?
Just gone over.
We've just gone over. All right, that is fine. In which case, that brings me to item 14, which is the closed session meeting, and 14.1, which is the meeting closed to the public. That the recommendation is that the council by absolute majority close the meeting to the public to consider some matters enclosed. Would a councillor care to move the recommended motion for that item? Councillor Wiley, thank you. It's Councillor Diprose. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. The meeting is now closed to the public at 6:37. Thank you for your attendance.
If I've written out some questions on this, can that be handed in as a questions with notice?
I'm sure we'll find a way of managing that.